pro wrestling podcasts like the Diamond Cutter. You never saw it coming. This is Damian King, the host of The Cutting Room. On the inaugural episode tonight, I've been tired of keeping my mouth shut, being a very distant fan, but avid, about a certain topic that's been coming up this whole past week. We're coming up almost on 5 days since the incident, and you pro wrestling fans know what I'm talking about. The all-in footage, the famous fight between Jack Perry and CM Punk. Now, I'm not here to put blame on Tony Khan about even airing it or the fact that Punk threw the first punch and Jack Perry was the one to initiate it, even though there's no audio on the footage, so we can't really prove that, Punk. But I'm a huge AEW fan at heart from day one, as you can see from the shirt. One of the purpose of this episode is going to be called Make AEW Elite Again. And that's the main word, elite. Okay? When this company first started, the initial mission statement of the company was to change the world, the pro wrestling world. And it did. And it's still doing it. The only problem I have is that I tuned in to episode of Dynamite, which was last week, and it was promoted, airing the all-in footage. We weren't sure if it was going to be the real thing or it was just going to be a segment that the Bucks filmed and it had to do with the feud that they have with FTR. But we actually saw it. We saw CM Punk and Hook in the backstage of All In, Wembley, biggest show of the year, biggest show AEW ever put on, 80,000 fans strong, which is not easy, by the way, in these day and ages of pro wrestling. But they actually aired it. And I know people are going to roll their eyes when I say this. Yeah, I'm not a Punk fan whatsoever. I respect the man. I respect him. Doesn't mean I have to like him or love him. But the moment they signed this man, I was already iffy about it. We actually saw this footage, and deep down, I was actually happy about it. Happy that we got answers. Happy that I got answers and closure, saying, you know what, the story that he told with Ariel last week, right before WrestleMania, I was like, yeah, he's lying. He's lying. He instigated it. He's not just like, well, I didn't do anything. I just choked somebody a little bit. That's not true, dude. You threw the first punch. You gripped them. But the purpose of this video is to make AEW elite again. When this company first started, day one, they announced that they're going to be running MGM Grand in Vegas for Double or Nothing 2019. I was super excited. I was freshly getting back into pro wrestling. As the years went on, they started signing bigger guys, ex-WWE guys. Adam Cole came in. Of course, Punk came in. Andrade came in, which is good for the company. These guys are seasoned talent that a lot of the backstage needed. They need knowledge. They need guidance. They need. There's a certain thing that young talent don't understand that they need in the backstage, and they need veterans. Guys like Punk, yes, you know he draws. He's a commodity, like he said. When I finally saw this footage, right after, I'm like, I don't know anymore. And I don't know if you guys are film fanatics, but if you ever saw the movie A Few Good Men, we finally got Jack Nicholson to say that, yeah, he ordered the code red. But then there's this line that he gave Caffey, which is played by Tom Cruise. He told him, you didn't win today. All you did was weaken a country. And that line kept playing in my head. As I saw this footage, I'm like, yeah, we got him. But no, all we did was weaken a company. That's all you did, Tony. That's all you proved, really. And this is not me blaming you, be like, Tony Khan, you're this, you're a Nepo baby, and this and that. It has nothing to do with that. I respect you as a businessman. I respect you as a promoter. I respect you as a booker. But deep down, I was saddened because all we see is weakness in this company. That's the first thing that we saw. We saw right after that, I thought it was over. Okay, we move on now, right? We saw this footage. And then comes Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin. biting the bait that Triple H put out during WrestleMania weekend when he talked about, if people don't want to fly and fly out hours and drive hours and are afraid of the grind. Well, here comes Will Ospreay when he said, "Oh, I asked Tony for a couple minutes, bruv, and I got some things to get off my mind and clear up a bunch of rumors." And I'm like, okay, where's he going with this? And there he goes. Like I keep hearing about people that are afraid that he's afraid of the grind, which is not true. Obviously, if you're sure of yourself, you're not gonna have to prove it to anybody. You don't have to say it that I'm this and that. No, you don't have to do that. But you caught the bait. Will, you did. That's all you did, and you showed more weakness. Not only that, but we saw Renee's reaction, and not only that, Tony Schiavone there shaking his head, embarrassed of the company he's working for. Tony Schiavone, coming one of the greatest wrestling companies ever, WCW. This man's seen it all, but all he saw that night was deja vu of the 2000, 2001 years of WCW. And that's really what it looked like. And I know it's repetitive. I know everyone else online has probably said the same thing. But the purpose of this video is, again, is to make AEW elite again. AEW was supposed to be the alternative of pro wrestling into WWE. And that's not what it is right now. It is not. That's not what it is right now, honestly. And it's pretty sad because I remember going to my first AEW show live at the Forum, right when Punk won the world title after Double or Nothing, where he injured his leg and the spiral went down. Well, it's been talked about, it's been documented, it's been criticized and everything. We don't have to get into that, but I remember the feeling being in that crowd, hearing these people cheer, hearing the music, and it feeling like something different. Like Cody said that first day, it feels like a revolution. And that's really what it was and what it could still be. But Tony, I don't know what you're thinking, dude. I really don't know what's your thought process. I kind of get your formula. I get it. You have big signees. You have indie stars that need exposure. You sign them for big money. But then what do you do with them? What do you do? Where are they at? You signed Bandito, one of Ring of Honor's top talents. Brought him in, had fun with him for a couple months, and like the kid with the new toy, threw him away. I don't even know where he's at right now. I understand he's nursing an injury. Well, what storyline has he been a part of? A big storyline. Something that's gonna. I mean, us as real wrestling fans know who he is, but you're a nationally televised wrestling company, and you really think just because you bring him in, you show him, um, man, when I'm looking at the record of him, his 2024 record, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's a whole lot of zeros. And it's not even a check. Wow. But yeah, we brought in Bandito. Didn't do anything with him. Right now we have Mercedes Monet. I mean, I understand she's also coming off an injury, but when I see her, it's really like a ticking time bomb. When is this disappointment gonna happen? When is anticipation gonna happen? Because we anticipated the signing of her. We wanted it. Trust me, I wanted it too. I know she was tired of what was going on in WWE, how she was being treated, putting, all the way in the back in the women's tag division. But another signing. What other signings did we get that were huge and didn't go anywhere? I know Keith Lee was one that we poached. And be honest, Tony, you did poach it. You did poach him, but we got him, hooked him up with Swerve. It was good for like 10 minutes, But then the Acclaim got a little hotter, and then what happened to him? I saw him back. I saw pics of him backstage at the Hall of Fame show. What does that tell you? If he was happy with you, don't you think that he wouldn't be at this competitors' events? But let's get back to the point. The point that brought me here today. Um, I respect everything that CM Punk has done in his career and he's done for the business. I just didn't like that the little bit of toxic dust that this man holds in his pocket all the time, the little bit of toxic dust that he sprinkled, Tony, you jumped for it, man. You made the company look so weak, and this is almost putting the blame on you, Bucks. Honestly, really, like you could have told Tony we don't want to be a part of it. Aren't you guys EVPs? And that doesn't also stand. That doesn't only stand for extremely violent people, like you say. Executive vice presidents. That's a title that shouldn't be taken lightly. Kenny Omega knows it, and that's a shout out to you, Kenny Omega. All the respect in the world. Get well soon. We miss you. If you feel like you don't need to come back, you have nothing to prove. And I'm gonna get back to getting nothing. I'm gonna get back to not having to prove anything to us as fans, because we're the worst fans in the world. We're so needy. We're ungrateful. And this is me being thrown in the mix too. But shout out to Kenny Omega for recently saying that out of all the people that were involved in the brawl out fight, that you actually reached out to CM Punk and you guys talked after, and you guys have nothing but respect for each other. But I get it, I get your loyalty to the Bucks. I get that, you saw that you had to go save Larry and get him out of the fight. I get it, and that speaks volumes of the type of person Kenny Omega is. Um, but back to the EVP title. It's your responsibility as an EVP to ensure the image that you're trying to uphold to the audience. And what kind of image did you guys keep putting out with all this internet this internet pleasing storylines that you feel, and maybe, and you know what, maybe they could come back at me and tell me that, what do you know, you're just this internet mark that thinks he knows everything. Yeah, you're right, I don't know everything, but the one thing that I do know is that people like me that wear these shirts, that aren't too embarrassed to say that we are pro wrestling fans, that we are AEW fans, all elite wrestling fans. The one thing that we're not afraid to do is support and admit that we love this company. We love what it's done to the pro wrestling, because guess what? Over on the other side of the fence, WWE, before you guys came along, before AEW was ever a thing, what was going on? What were the storylines that were being done? What were the segments? God, like FTR recently said, if it wasn't for AEW, they would go back to shaving each other's back. And that segment was really hard to watch, honestly. Let's see, we had the Lana and Lashley, where they're simping Miro, and no, I I felt embarrassed to even say I was ever into pro wrestling at that point. But here comes this company funded by one of the most diehard, passionate wrestling fans in Tony Khan. This man is literally a wrestling encyclopedia. Like Dustin Rhodes just told Chris Van Vliet, being with him and working with him, this man could pull out a match that Dustin doesn't even remember anymore from the 90s and the 80s, and he'll tell him the finish or who was on next. That's passion. And that same passion also started this company. That's what it takes to start a revolution. It takes passion, drive, but also you have to also know what it's like to be a fan. Once you become, I get it. Once you're put in these shoes, and you're put into these positions of power, which they were, along with Matt and Jackson. They were put in a position of power. Kenny was put in. Cody was in it, and he also admitted, he's like, you know what, maybe I'm not cut out for this. I'll just put my boots back on. And that's what I think Kenny's ready to do. But back to the EVP title, what kind of example you guys want to set? Because I used to be proud to say that there's a company, this new company called AEW that I'm so proud to be a part of and to be supporting. I'm there at the shows. I've been to every single SoCal show you guys had, minus the Rampage over in Ontario. I can't always make it. But I've been to all those Dynamites at the Forum. I was there at Revolution in San Francisco. And I was there at Full Gear. And what I'm seeing each and every time I go to these shows, the decreasing attendance. I'll never forget it. I walk into Collision the Saturday before Full Gear back in November. I double booked an event. I had tickets for Collision, and I had tickets to go see the Mighty Ducks. What's a fan to do? There I am with my Ducks jersey on, and I walk into the Forum. I'm like, maybe I can make both shows, you know? So the Forum to the Honda Center on a Friday. I walk in there, and I look up at the rafters, and I see the top section blacked out because they couldn't fill it. My first Dynamite, that thing was filled to the top with passionate pro wrestling fans that love this company and want it to stay elite. Now they're coming back to LA, and I haven't even bought my ticket yet. I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll probably wait till the price drops. Double or Nothing's coming back to Vegas in about a month, and I'm not excited. I'm not even excited. I'm not even. This is gonna be the first pay per view this upcoming weekend for Dynasty. It's gonna be the very first pay per view I don't buy because I got better stuff to do. And a lot of people say, well, what's the fan gonna do? Like it's the company's still gonna keep on going. Yeah, you know what? It is gonna keep on going down. If Tony Khan doesn't fix the things that he needs to fix, like one idea I need to like somebody. Well, first of all, let me put this out there, Tony. If this actually makes it to anybody in the AEW locker room and it sparks a little bit of interest, one thing I did do, Tony, is I applied for your social media editor position. So it's in there. It doesn't have my exact name, which is Damian King, by the way. Damian King, is the host of the Cutting Room. But yeah, I applied for that position, and I applied with a lot of hopes and desires, hoping that you'd give a guy like me a shot to help make this company better. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you, Tony, is what you got to do is you have to fix the programming. You have 3 shows. That's 4 hours of TV, about 4 hours of TV a week. Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I know Collision was made to separate the locker room between anybody that was in Punk's position of having issues with somebody else that were cool with the Bucks. Andrade was one of them. I know Malachi Black had some issues. You know, and I get it. Separating the locker rooms, it's going to work for a couple months. How long did that work for Punk? Brought him back in June. He was out by August. One thing you have to do, understand, Tony, is that when you have 3 different shows, I understand writing storylines is very hard, and keeping the talent healthy is another thing. Their travel schedules, I understand. But those 2 other shows, other than Dynamite, which you have Rampage and Collision, are really treated like the bastard child of your creation. I understand the flagship show is always going to be Dynamite. It's the first one that came around. WWE has Raw. They treat it better than SmackDown. They treat it better than NXT. But they're not making the same mistakes you're doing because people are looking forward to SmackDown. What happened last week on SmackDown? What did Trips do? That man reached out to New Japan Pro Wrestling and signed one of the most untapped resources in the pro wrestling world right now, in Tama Tonga, and put him inside the Bloodline storyline, which that's what that is. That's storytelling. That's thinking ahead. And Tony, I know you had the opportunity. You have Okada. You just signed Okada, Will Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné. Three New Japan stars. Okada is put with the Bucks. I get they got history going back to stemming back from when they were with TNA. Mercedes Monet, which says she's the face of the revolution in your women's division. Okay, we're still waiting for that to pan out. Will Ospreay, who's undoubtedly the greatest living wrestler right now. Greatest. The aerial assassin. And I had so many hopes and high hopes for this man, what he could do in this company, because I know WWE wasn't going to do anything with him, really. They would have restrained him a bit, maybe told him to slow down his pacing and slow down his wrestling style. But you have him. And you let him go on air and throw more jabs at Triple H and WWE. The point of being the alternative, Tony, is that you're not focused on what the other people are doing. You're focused on what you're doing. You're going to better yourself and better this company. And if you're easy to jump into the fight and start throwing jabs, throwing little subliminal messages, disses, like the rap world says, what is that going to do for you? It's not going to grow. It's not going to grow this company. Now, going back to what you should do with the programmings, even though Dynamite is the flagship show, I get it. What you should do is have two separate rosters. As much as you're probably gonna hate it, because that's kind of really mirroring what WWE does. But what you should do is separate the rosters for Dynamite and Rampage. Okay, Dynamite and Rampage should be the two separate rosters and shows. Collision should be the one show where both rosters collide and see who's the better show. Kind of like what you do with Forbidden Door, which honestly one of the most greatest wrestling pay-per-view ideas ever, to actually have a working relationship with another promotion, and it gives us all these dream matches. And that's such a great idea. And if anybody in the locker room if anybody in the locker room, the AEW locker room, could hear this, or in creative, or even you, Tony, maybe that's an idea you should take. I know you're very good at listening to the fans, Tony. You are. Because the Twitter feed mentions like, hey, the lighting's too dark, we can't really see the matches. Then there you are, you go changing the lighting for us, which is good. I mean, you tend to the fans, and you're very easy to, like Punk said, he's not a boss. He's a good guy. I get it. It's really time to get those big boots, those big boy pants on, and start acting like a boss. Okay, and also be a leader. There's a difference between a boss and a leader, but you have to learn how to be one in both. You have to learn how to play both parts, Tony. Um, like I said before, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. Been a pro wrestling fan since 2000. Never forget it. My friend inviting me over, and I'll never forget watching my first match. It was Gangrel versus The Godfather. And I'll never forget my first wrestling show live, SummerSlam 2003 in Phoenix, Arizona. Watching Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar go at it in the Elimination Chamber as well later that night. And I was there for Eddie Guerrero and JBL in the Staples Center for Judgment Day 2004. And seeing the most bloodiest match that is still probably today. And I'll never forget my first AEW show, my first Dynamite, and how good it felt. How much I love this product and this company. But I can't sit back, let you continue and continue to deteriorate the great rapport you had with the fans. I can only imagine what the execs at the studio must feel on TBS. Is this what was promised to us? Petty jabs at the competition. I get it. Some people, they enjoy that. But all week we've been hearing nothing but complaints from the social media world and all the podcasters. Shout out to people like Suplex. Shout out to people What Culture Wrestling, one of the guys that actually, well, one of the podcasts and YouTube shows that got me back into pro wrestling, introduced me to the Bullet Club, what New Japan was. Shout out to you guys out there in the UK. You guys are doing a great job. You guys inspired all this. This inaugural episode of The Cutting Room with Damian King. And I feel like I got everything I wanted to say off my chest. This won't be the last episode. This is, like Cody said, I think this is a revolution in podcasting. Um, this won't be just pro wrestling either. We'll be talking about films, talking about pop culture, the things that I'm into. Of course, wrestling will be a topic, something that happens weekly. Um, and it won't be just about AEW. AEW, yes, I'm an AEW fan, but I still keep up with WWE. I still keep up with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I can't really watch TNA all the time, obvious reasons. I'm sorry. They got rid of Scott D'Amore. What do you want me to say about that? The guy that said he would bring this brand back was fired. Why? Don't know. A lot of things happen behind closed doors. I get it. There's things that we shouldn't know, that we're not allowed to know. That is sometimes irrelevant. But this won't be the last episode of The Cutting Room. We're coming, and it was actually maybe at times it will be shot here, the podcast place right here in Long Beach, SoCal, California. I want to thank the people who allowed me to do this inaugural episode, for making my dreams come true, getting my ideas out there, uh, for helping with this whole production. Sometimes the locations will change, sometimes it won't, depending on my availability, because I also do have responsibilities. I have a life. Not saying that anybody that keeps doing this as a living, my utmost respect. But I'm just starting out. I'm like they said in the pro wrestling world, I'm green. I'm new to this. This is my first attempt. This is my debut match. Okay, so give it time. Give me some room to learn and to mess up as well. Like who's the pro wrestler that said they grew up in from, well, like Cody Rhodes did. I'll never forget his debut match. Um, Walking out in his dad's borrowed green boots, coming out to wrestle. I believe his first wrestling match was Randy Orton. But I'm hoping to grow up in front of you guys, with you guys. Um, and that's what this episode was about, growing. And growing for the better, Tony. If you're still hearing, if you made it past the first 10 minutes, if you didn't think this was just going to be another slander uh, YouTuber, podcaster, it was just, what does he know? I know a lot, Tony. Trust me, I do. Been a fan for many years. I'll always be a fan. Fan of you as well. Won't follow the Jaguars. I'm not a football fan. I'm sorry to say. But hopefully guests that I bring onto the show in the future who are fans, who have told me your flaws, I've kind of pushed away like, well, this is pro wrestling. But it's also a business, Tony. And those two go hand in hand. Pro wrestling and football is a business. Hopefully you fix this. I'm sick and tired of this. Sick and tired of being embarrassed to be an AEW fan. So with that, I'll leave you guys to the next episode. Have ideas working. There's a lot going on under the mask. But I'll catch you guys next time. And like Kenny Omega, we'll do this the Kenny Omega style. Like with that, I must bid you adieu and goodbye and good night. Bang.